So the way you can get in touch with us is our website is lifecenteredtherapy.com, and the email address there is info@lifecenteredtherapy.com, and the phone number is 781-891-7448. So that's how you can get in touch with our institute. And having said that, welcome, Gavi, because it's wonderful to meet you since we've never met and basically never said anything to each other. So this is a joy. So thank you so much for doing this.
Nice to meet you. Thank you so much for this platform.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is, since these things tend to stand alone, and since no one knows what I do, and since you have some idea, but probably not a great idea about what I do, I'm going to give a very brief overview, hopefully like in 10 minutes. And all I want you to do, since we're going to do this essentially blind, is you get to ask I'm going to ask you one question, which is if you could have anything at all you desire from our time, anything, even if you weren't sure it was possible, and knowing you've done a lot of work, what would you intend to get from this time so you would say, oh my God, exactly, I got exactly what I was intending. That's the only thing I want to know. And you can say one thing or you can say 5 things, whatever you like. So you can be with that question as I talk about the work. And if you have any questions about what I say, please feel free. And I'm going to talk about the part of this work that's specifically about doing healing work and about releasing suffering and trauma, because we do other things too, but that's probably what will be most relevant for today. Although, who knows, you may say something that will bring us in a whole different direction. So let me just explain to you, and if you have any questions, you're the key, because you and I are a team. We're going to work on whatever you say. It's like you're presenting us with something, and it's like we work together on something together. And so does everybody, the thousands of people who may end up watching this. They're all here for help and health also. So it's a great thing. And it's a joy and a pleasure to work with you. So let me tell you the simple basics of this. The starting place is, which you probably know from all of what you've done, I believe that everything that people suffer about, and what I believe trauma and suffering are exactly the same thing, is simply something that can't be handled and integrated. So if you can't handle and integrate something, you suffer. That's it. If you could handle and integrate and master everything, you might have pain, but you wouldn't suffer because you would just be with what was. That's the basic idea. So at the end of this, if you hang around long enough doing this, the guarantee is one of 2 things happens. Either the thing that you're suffering about goes away, or your relationship to it changes to such a degree at which point you'd say, I have no charge on it. I have no judgment about it or judgmentalism about it. I have no anxiety about it. I have no comparison about it. I have no need to understand it. I can just understand it and I can be with it. And so it has no power over me, even if it's something seemingly from another point of view, something that on a personal level we might have a lot of pain about. That's the basic idea, okay? So the first premise is that every symptom you have and the suffering that's associated with it is simply an invitation to remember and be in different relationship with something that couldn't be handled and integrated. So again, I think people come to healers because they can't handle and integrate something. And I think healing is about mastering what you couldn't handle and integrate. That's it. Okay. And I would say everything that you're suffering about on a human level, it's a problem because it stinks. But on a soul level, it's an invitation to remembering. So the suffering is a clue. So if you have chronic back pain and you're suffering about it, I'd say that's life's best way to give you a clue about what it is you couldn't handle and integrate. If you have a major depression, I'd say the same thing. If you have an anxiety disorder, I would say whatever the particular is an invitation. It's life's best way, like a dream. It's kind of an embodied dream that's like a letter from your soul saying, here's the thing you need to handle and integrate, and we're giving you the best clue we can about it, okay? So when I say we want to master, what I mean by that is, so we want to master, how do you do it? Here's simply what I would say. Whenever there's something that can't be handled and integrated, in that moment, a sensation is born, a discomfort in that moment. And life will then send you back echoes of that moment until eventually you master and integrate it, just because if you get enough time at it, life says you finally passed the test, right? But there's a quicker, I think, more elegant, efficient, simple way to master, which is when that moment happens, a sensation is born, and it was born in a moment just like you were born in a moment, right? Gavi was born in a moment that was a literal moment, and that sensation was literally born in a moment that something couldn't be handled and integrated. And then it has a life of its own. So let's suppose you have I keep using this example probably because I need to do it, but let's suppose you're in my office, a car backfires, and you start to have a panic attack, right? And I say, well, okay, when you're having a panic attack, what's happening in the body? And you say, my chest is closing up, and I feel tightness there, and I feel whatever I'm going to say. Then I would say you're not having a panic attack, Gabi. I'd say chest closing up is having a panic attack. And chest closing up was born in a moment, right? Now, let's suppose that moment, for hypothetical reasons, was 40 years ago. You were leading a troop, and you walk them into an ambush because you're not paying enough attention. And suddenly you believe that you've betrayed a trust, and you watch as these bombs go off, and you watch these people get killed, and you say, it's all my fault. And like, I've done a horrendous thing. Then your problem wouldn't even be the bombs that are going off. It would be that you believe you betrayed something, and your reactivity to the car backfiring would bring you to the bombs, but that would bring you to betrayal. And what you might find out is what came out of that betrayal is you were never willing to take risks again, or you had, let's say you oppressed the whole thing, and there's a place in the world you'd say, like, I'd rather be dead than have to go there. Or you never feel like you could be a leader again, or you feel like you were given a responsibility, you didn't live up to it, so you keep, whenever you're going to have power to lead, you shoot yourself in the foot. And all of those things would have come out of that moment, even though they may seem to have nothing to do with each other, right? So if we could change that betrayal, suddenly it might make it so that when a car backfires, you say, oh, this is reminding me of what happened, but I'm no longer living it. I'm now the one who's having an experience, as opposed to the one who's living out the experience over and over and over again, okay? And that's where we want to get you to. So the way you do that is, if you choose to become the body sensation, then something funny happens, which is you simultaneously are the one who's witnessing it and the one who's choosing to become the one who couldn't handle and integrate something. So you move from, when the car backfires, you're living out the story like a character in a play or a character in a movie or a character in the novel, to the one who's saying, oh, I'm aware that I'm living it out. And then I'm free, because now I identify with the witness or the host, as opposed to the one who's having the experience, right? And so you'll choose to become the body sensation, and whatever happens next will be its story, not yours. Even if you think it's your story, it won't be. It'll be its. And it will share its story, and it will share it you'll either start to relive it, or you'll have images like a movie, or you'll have knowings like you're reading a novel, and feelings will arise, or you'll be like the character in the play, and you'll start, like, being the person who was doing that thing, and the bomb goes off, and suddenly, you say, oh my God, shrapnel just hit my shoulder, and you'll have pain in your shoulder, or whatever, depending on whether you're more kinesthetic, auditory, or visual. As far as I can tell, the divine doesn't care. So you just will report it however it comes. Okay? And that's basically what I do. So I'm going to find out the most important thing to work on, which might be what you think, or that might be a manifestation, a symptom of a deeper intention. So the first step is we're going to find out what you're truly here to work on. And then we're going to find out where you're stuck. We're going to do a preparation. So we'll find out where it originated and what that person needs, if they need, or that being, because they may not be a person. They could be an animal, or like a alien, or whoever. It doesn't matter. We'll find out. But whatever that being needs, if they need something other than just to share its story while you're in a place of witnessing and hosting, they might say, I also need to make amends, or I also need to do something called EF. I need to do some acupressure. I need to do some eye movement. And if you don't know, I've studied more things you could possibly imagine, and we find the right lock and key if they need anything. But the most powerful practice is just awareness in a high vibrational field. And if they need something more often, you'll know, and I won't. And they'll say, you know, and you'll go inside, you'll tune in your own wisdom. You'll say, I know what I need to do right now. I need to paint a picture of this. I didn't expect that, but that's what's here. I'd say, go paint your picture. And that will be what that person needs, okay? So we prepare for a journey by saying, where are you going to go, and do we need to do anything when we get there? And then the next step, the fourth step, really, is you're going to take a journey by becoming the sensation, and whatever happens, you'll just report, and you'll do if there's a practice that's needed. And then the end of that is you'll see if something that was out of balance has come into balance, okay? And if it has, you'll know right away, because whatever the sensation is, it won't be there anymore. And if it's still there, you'll say, Andy, something hasn't changed. And if it's not there, I could say anything, you know, anyone would tell you you're crazy, nothing has changed. You'll say, well, then how come I'm not feeling like I want to vomit anymore? Because 15 minutes ago I did. So you're the expert on your own experience. And that way, you know, everything gets turned upside down, because I'm not the expert in anything except that I've kind of been spending my life mapping out the universe, so that if what you're coming up with is, you know, this car backfiring, it may never have occurred to you that your core issue was betrayal, or it may never have occurred to you that some energy took you over, or it may never occur to you that what you're really looking for is something that happened in your ancestry 5 generations ago on your mother's side. These things might not have occurred to you, at which point you'll never get the most powerful, simple solution, because you won't know what the problem is. And that happens a lot. So people work on things and work on things and work on things, and they don't get the most powerful result, because either they didn't know what the problem was, or they didn't know the most powerful immediate way to get there. So they would do it through something like, they wouldn't do it through the body. And in my experience, if you do anything other than through the body, it's not quite as immediate, even if you're doing some kind of regression. Moreover, since it's already here right now, we never regress anybody, because it's living right now. So you can't get re-traumatized. Whereas if we're doing a regression to age 2 and something horrendous is happening to you, we'd have to spend a lot of time making sure you felt safe and do a lot of things. But since you're not regressing, you're just finding out the story of the 2-year-old, you could find the most horrendous story ever, and you could do it like that in a moment, because you're not regressing, you're just witnessing what happened to that 2-year-old. You're not the 2-year-old. So in my experience, having done this for 25 years, you could find the most horrendous thing you can imagine, and you won't get re-traumatized, because you're choosing to experience it. You're not automatically experiencing it, which is really quite something, okay? And then the only thing I have to say is, how are we going to find these things out? And the answer is, I can't ask you, because if I could ask you and you knew the answers and you knew where it started and what to do about it, you would not be doing this session with me, because you'd say, Andy, you're a nice guy and everything, but I can talk to you or whatever, but I only have to spend my time doing this. So the way I do that is I use a process called muscle testing. Do you know muscle testing?
Yes.
Okay, well, for those of people who don't, basically what's going to happen is you have to understand levels of wisdom in order to understand muscle testing, because what we're going to do is we're going to access the part of you that just knows something. And in order to understand that, you have to understand several levels of wisdom. And the first one is called the wisdom of the conscious mind. That's what you can tell me. So I say, Gabby, what's your name? You say, I can figure that out. My name's Gabby. I say, Gabby, how much is 2 + 2? And you say, I can figure that out. It's 4. I say, Gabby, how come you have this problem that you're still suffering about, even with all the work you've done? And what should you do about it? And if I said that to you, you said, if I knew the answer, I wouldn't be seeing you. So the wisdom of the conscious mind is very limited, the logical conscious mind. So we're going to give it the power of 1. Then there's a second level. It's called the wisdom of the unconscious mind. And the wisdom of the unconscious mind comes in a lot of ways. Like, you know, you have a dream and you say, well, what the heck was that? Because if Gavi tries to figure out her dream, even if Gavi spent a lot of time with dreams, if her conscious mind tries to figure it out, it will not get very far, unless you're an amazing being, because I spend a lot of time with dreams. And if I try to figure them out as Andy, I still don't get very far, and I work a lot with dreams, right? So you have to find the one who can understand the dream, which for me doesn't look a lot like Andy, but because we're all collectives, and she looks like something very different than me, is all I will say about it. So And I would say that level, if you have a dream or an image comes to you and you paint it and you say, where did that come from? Or, you say something, you say, I didn't mean to say that. Why did I say it? And if you try to analyze it, you won't get very far. But if you find the part that knows, worlds open up to you. So I'd say the wisdom of the unconscious mind is a lot deeper than the conscious mind. So we'll give it the power of the speed of light. So if your conscious wisdom has the power of 1, this level, which I think is like getting letters from your soul, has the power of the speed of light. Then there's a third level. The third level does not have a lot of good words in the West. It has a lot of good words in the East. It has a lot of good words in Aboriginal cultures. Only the rational Descartesian West that makes this mind-body split has no good words for it, because we know that everything is material and rational. So like if you're in China, it's called qi, like in Tai Chi. Or if you're in Japan, it's called ki, like Reiki, or prana and shakti. There's all these great words, except for us. All we can do is call it the wisdom and energy that animates us. What is qi? It's our life force. And it's also our deepest knowing. So when you tune into your body, which is what this really is, it's a body-based wisdom. If you tune into it, it's like when you just say, I just know something. It's coming to me. I didn't figure it out. I didn't even have an emotion about it. I just had a felt sense. And when people talk about it, they point to their bodies. They say, I just knew. You say, it's not rational. You say, it may not be rational, but I just know it's true for me, right? So it's a very interesting thing to say that our life force and our deepest intuitive knowing are exactly the same thing. And that's the third level. And the other way it shows up for most people is, I don't know if you're a mother or not, but if you were, and you're that size, and God forbid, a car rolls over your toddler, and someone your size picks up a 2,000-pound car, and it happens all the time. My colleague said, I don't believe it. Then she went onto the internet and saw these things that clearly weren't staged. And she would see these things and see these women talking about it. And they were women like, housewives who said, this happened and I picked up the car. And you say, how could you do it? And they just said, I knew I could do it. Right? If they tried to do it with their willpower, which is the power of what I'm going to do it, that's conscious mind, they break their backs. But they pick up the car enough that their toddlers crawl out. So what you need to know is when you're in alignment with the truth, your body gets way stronger. And when you're not in alignment with the truth, your body actually gets weaker, and it's demonstrable. It's measurable, actually. And some people, it's the opposite way. They get way stronger when it's a no and get weaker when it's a yes. But I think the best way to understand them is they're like left-handed. So, but other people think that there's something wrong with them and you have to fix it. But, I don't think that's the case. But for most people, they get stronger when they're in alignment with a yes. And so what we do is we ask your body to be a means of communication for I just know. Like I would ask your mouth to be a means of communication mainly for your conscious mind. So if I say, what's your name? You say, my name is Gavi. Well, it's not really your mouth that's answering the question. It's really your conscious mind. You figured it out. My name's Gavi. And then you could have written it down, but you just use your mouth. So your mouth is a mouthpiece or a means of communication mainly for your conscious mind. And we're going to ask your body to be a means of communication for this part that says, I just know. Except there's one problem, which is that I don't know where you are, but I'm in Waltham, and for sure you're not in Waltham, Massachusetts. Where are you?
In Wisconsin.
You're in Wisconsin. So there's a little problem because most people do muscle testing and they, have someone hold out their arm, except that I can't put your arm through the computer and I can't put mine, so we have a problem. But then you have to understand a fourth level of wisdom, which is I have to be able to muscle test as though I'm muscle testing you, and it has to be spontaneous. And in order to understand that, you have to know a fourth level of wisdom, which is infinite wisdom. And that wisdom basically says everything is happening simultaneously, right? And the metaphors for that, the biological metaphors are cells and bodies, and the energetic metaphors are holograms. And it's important here to know this because I'm going to muscle test you, and people will say, how could you do that? And the way to do that is to say, every cell, we have 3 trillion cells in our bodies, right? About. We actually have more, but we have 3 trillion human cells. And if the human cell, if we said to each one of them, who are you? You'd say, I'm a unique cell and I'm separate and limited, right? And you'll never find two that are the same, just like we have all these trillions of people. And theoretically in this dimension, you never find two that were the same. But at another level, they have to be exactly the same in terms of a template or a blueprint, because if we had enough information, we could take one cell and simultaneously clone the whole body. So for that to happen, that means everything, all the information has to be available in that unique cell as a template. And then the question is, where are we focused? Are we focused on the unique in particular, or are we focused on what is the universal? And if we focus on the universal, it becomes mystical. Like Blake says, you know, the grain of sand is the universe, and the universe and the grain of sand, they are the same thing. So we have this funny idea that each of us is unique and each of us is all of life. And I think who we are is mystical cells in a mystical body called life, and each of us is that. So you're a mystical cell and so am I. And the only difference is if I am able to do it, which theoretically I might be able to do it, all I'm going to do is focus as this unique cell over here simultaneously, at which point I am you. And I'll not identify with Andy, I'll identify as Gabby. And then I ask to stand in for you, and then I start muscle testing Gabby, which is a strange idea. But it works, or at least it works so much that I did a lot of testing to make sure that the answers I would get when I literally muscle tested someone, and when I did it this way, got to be essentially the same. And when they got to be essentially the same, I said, well, all right, I'm going to, because I can't, otherwise I can't do the work with you in Wisconsin, which there's a word for in our vernacular, which is it stinks, because then I can't work with you. But I can work with you theoretically this way, or you'd muscle test yourself. But most people can't muscle test themselves fast enough, because I have to do it really fast to do my diagnostic if we're going to get this thing done in an hour. So it's going to be really quick, okay? And then we can ask anything we want, and as long as it's in the service of your healing and your growth, we get very high vibrational answers. If Gabby says something like, you know what, I'm feeling like I'd like to stop working and like go and spend the rest of my life getting umbrella drinks, you could say, well, what are the lottery numbers? At which point you're asking a much denser answer, because it's really an egoic question, and you will get an answer, but it may not be the answer you think it is, because it's not a very high vibrational question, because you're really doing it in the service of something that's egoic. But healing and growth is really soulful. So if you say, I'm suffering about something, in my experience, you get very high vibrational answers. And what happens is I ask to stand in for you, and then I start muscle testing myself as you. But at the end of the day, it's still your session. You can say, Andy, I don't care what you're getting. I don't buy it. At which point I'll say, I get one question, which is that part of the story? Because you could be in a story where someone told you something and they sold you a bill of goods, and you'd say, all right, so then you'd be reenacting the story that you need to work on right in the here and now. And I can ask one question, you could say, I still don't care because in 2019, I think this is crazy and I'm stopping. And at which point I say, you're the boss. Okay? So my work is to know life as best I can, and your work is to report. You're a reporter in this, and you're going to share something, and life's work is to reveal something to you. So you're going to be a reporter of something that has happened in life that has gone from its pure form, which is free-flowing energy, C squared in this dimension, to something dense, which is what happens when you can't handle something. When you can handle everything and have mastered everything, you will be who you truly are, which is a verb. That's who you are. And there'll be no dense energy. And if someone gave you a massage, they'd never find any knots, because you could handle everything. So you would just be like, you'd be like massaging marshmallow. I mean, you'd be like Jello, because there'd be nothing that was dense energy, because you'd say yes to everything. So there'd be no dense energy, at which point you'd be what's called a realized being. Now, for our good news, for our demonstration purposes, the chances of either one of us being that is not very high, right? Even though both of us have done more work than we want to talk about. So that's my story. So do you have any questions about that, or any reflections or anything? Because that's the foundation. And if you don't, it's fine, but I have to tell everybody what we're doing, otherwise it makes no sense.
For sure. So I guess I want to clarify, in the process, is it very important to consider yourself that in that observer role, being aware of this aspect that is needing this healing versus a part of me needing the healing? Do you see the difference?
I think they're actually the same thing, because as soon as you say it's a part of me needing the healing, who you identified with, you're not identified with, you will choose to become the part that needs healing. Who's the I? The I really in that situation is the observer. I'm aware that there's a part of me that needs healing. As soon as you're aware of the part that needs healing,
Sure.
you're no longer that part. All right?
Right.
Now, how you understand that is none of my business. You could say it's a part of me. You could say, or you could say I'm just a collective. You could say anything. I don't care how you understand it. All I care about is whether it's useful.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Ah, okay. Sure, sure.
Take a moment and see if there's anything else.
I mean, I guess I'm just curious now how we're going to narrow down what exactly needs to be worked on.
It's simple. I'm going to start muscle testing. So
Okay.
what's going to happen here is I'm going to invite us to shift now, okay? And we're all
Mhm.
going to shift, including the people who are here with us. So, who's ever here, even though they don't know that they're witnessing this, they're just witnessing it in the future, they think, but they're really witnessing it right now anyhow, because it's all the same time. So what I'd invite us all to do is just take a moment and just breathe. And just let your body relax, okay? And let yourself get grounded, however you would do that. So you're really rooted and grounded and you're fully here. And what we're going to do, having been in this place of rootedness, is we're just going to rest into life and the divinity of life and all that is here for help and health, whatever that means to you or to whoever's here. Okay. It's sort of that which holds us with an open hand. As we do that, I just invite you to bring your attention to your heart, and then just be with yourself and anything that you. So we're just going to say, if you could have, and you focus in your heart, but your whole being, if you could have anything you desire, even if it felt like it wasn't possible, what would you intend to get from our time? And if there's anything that feels really important to share, feel free to do that also. But mainly all I need to know from you is, if you could have anything you desire, what would you intend to get from this time so you get exactly what you would wish?
I would have to say, I guess clarity, clarity, clarity in decisions, clarity in who I am, um, not questioning my belief where I'm at, just knowing that it's a journey and that it's going to change. I tend to be very back and forth about it because I see this side and I see that side, and it brings me to all this indecisiveness. So being really still in whatever I feel like I'm clear about it in that moment.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else, or is that really the whole thing?
No, I'd like to just see where it goes. I'd like to be more organic about it, not give it too many boxes.
Great. Okay. So we're going to shift, and this may be about healing, or it may be about something else, which may be about being able to hold two different sides of something simultaneously and not identify with the worst part of either side of it, at which point we'll do a very different practice, because that would then be about once I know what I'm choosing in life, how can I align with what life is asking of me, right? So like if you say, it's like, that would be like to everything in its season. If you know you want to be a farmer, but you say like, I don't know if I'm willing to like plant seeds. I'm very happy to like, you know, uh, get all the weed out of the ground, but I'm not going to plant seeds. So it could be something about that, or it could be something about your personality, because I don't know if you know, I do a lot of work with personality and core fears. And I don't know if you know the Enneagram. Do you know the Enneagram?
Yes, yes, I'm textbook type 1.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's good to know. Well, um, then you should know worry pretty well, even if worry and you should be good friends.
Yeah, it's more about the control and the perfectionism. I guess worry tends to, but it seems like that's like a eventuality because of me trying to have everything in order.
Mhm. Well, and you're also, I mean, if you know the Enneagram, then you also know um, that you're what's called in the Enneagram a self-forgetting point. So knowing your real heart's desire as opposed to knowing the right thing to do can be very tricky.
Oh
So it's
yeah,
like if I give you something to respond to, you can say I can correct it. If I give you a blank piece of paper and say, what's your real heart truth? It gets hard. At which point we'll work on what's called self-forgetting, and that's a different kind of practice than working on a trauma structure. Because
wow,
if you're working on self-forgetting, then really what it is you've substituted being right and being responsible for knowing what you really would desire. And that's a different practice altogether than if you're having such difficulty because one day you really knew it and then somebody hit you over the head and you said, that's a bad plan, I'll be indecisive forever. That would be more in your life. So I can figure all that stuff out too.
it's interesting you say that because I feel like I've of late of the last few years come into more of my own knowing what I want, but then when it conflicts with what I know is right or wrong, and it's like it doesn't fit into my very black and white which way it should go. Is it then that's where I have the conflict because I want it one way or I believe that my essence is telling me a certain direction, but it's not necessarily what would be societally correct or in alignment with that right or wrong perspective.
Uh-huh. Well, then all we have to do is say, where did that right or wrong come from? So that you'd be in such tension. But that if that was the situation, then it might be about knowing your passion. It might be about maturity, or it might be that you at one point in your world knew what was really right for you, what was really right for you, and for some reason someone said, That's not acceptable." And I can find out where you start because it could be many layers, right? But we'll
Sure.
find which one is right for you. And the good news is, I have no stake. So, but what I would say to you is I don't think this is just one layer for you, but we're only get to do one layer today. So even if we work on life trauma at some point or other, we might have to work on your sense of like I've substituted being responsible for knowing my heart's desire, or I've substituted being a good person for like doing what I would really desire because that's bad. And that's a different order of things than if at one point you knew and then somebody said it's unacceptable, then it would be more external and not internal. And I can muscle test all of that stuff for you, but I can tell you, I think there's more than one thing going on here. And today we'll do whatever you could say your soul is saying is the most important for yourself. And because I think you're also working not just for you, but this would be a good thing for a person who has a vision like you do. I think you're going to help out a lot of other people who will be here because I just invite them in a sense to like say, what would happen if I dropped into my own, what I really desired, and then what Gavi's going to work on, which might be, clarity or being okay with indecisiveness or trusting what I know, even if it goes against something. It's not for no reason you got picked because we muscle tested who we were to do out of, let's just say you weren't the only one who asked to do a session. And we asked not just if it was your highest good for everybody. So, it's like an invitation for everybody to drop in and to really be with you, fully engaged and open-hearted and open-minded with you. But also if they want you to do their own work and drop into their own intention, knowing that in some way, as you're talking, if they're with you, something may come up for them. So they may get something for themselves other than just witnessing your work, which would be a great thing.
That is definitely my intention as well.
I got it. Good. All right. So we're going to start working and I'm going to start muscle testing. The muscle testing with me looks like this because I like having both my hands. So give me a yes, and my body just automatically goes forward like a pendulum. And I say, give me a no, and it just goes backwards on its own. So you'll be able to see it. I mean, other people go, give me a yes, give me a no. I mean, there are all kinds of ways to self muscle test. But if I do it that way, then I can't hold my pen. So I can do both this way. So it'll look like this. I'll say, show us a yes, and I'll go forward. So your yes is going forward. Show us a no, it goes back. Show us a yes, show us a no. So then I could say, I'm now going to like focus on you, like that mystical cell. And I'd say, am I Gavi? And it says yes. And I'd say, am I Andy? It says no. And then at least insofar as I'm muscle testing someone, the intention is I'm muscle testing you, really, even though we're muscle testing a field. Because if someone else did it for you right now, it would come out a little bit different, because we always influence things. But I always do a prayer to say, I'm going to try to stand aside. So here we go. So we ask her, so we fully in healing presence. Healing presence is an aspect of I just know that's sort of the healing aspect of soul. It says yes. Are we simply balanced? That means our bodies are ready to do the work, which is a lot of things like being hydrated enough, etc. It says yes to that too. Are we fully checked in? That means that you've told me everything I need to know so I can be of service. I don't need to know anything else, and you don't need to say anything else. And it says yes to that also. So now we're going to start, okay? And we're going to find out, our first step is we're going to find out why you're truly here, all right? So let's find out.
Yay.
So let's see what we're going to do. So the one we call Gavi, that's you. Do you know the best way to proceed? And we ask you. Well, it says you don't know the best way. You maybe said, I know what I need to do today, and I know better than you. At which point I would have said, lousy for our demonstration purposes, but, you know, we do what's best. So, excuse me. Cool. So we're going to do what I would call healing, and we would do what I would call a standard balance. Is there anything else? So what that says is something's out of balance. So that suggests it's some kind of trauma, as opposed to just you don't know your passion, okay? Because then it wouldn't say to do a standard balance. It would say help you find something because you're just ignorant. But that's not the deal today. So we're going to do a balance, all right? So something's out of balance. Is it anything else? So that's all we're going to work on today, is some part of you that's out of balance. It isn't in alignment, or the part of you that's suffering, not the part of you that's ignorant, or the part of you that needs to become more mature or something, all right? So we're going to say, do you have a highest intention, and is that what we're to do? It says yes. It says, is your highest intention, is it any, some, or all of what you've said? And it said yes. So it said the thing you said is the most important thing for us to work on, the sense of clarity and decisions and who I am, or to be able to be still and not in any kind of agitation. It says that really is it. Out of everything you can work on, it says that's the most important thing that either one of us could find.
Wow.
Okay, so it's exactly what you said. This, something's keeping you from clarity, or something's keeping you from being still in the indecisiveness, or it's that's what we have to work on. Is it worded exactly correctly? Yes. Do we have to refine it at all? No. Do we have 100% permission? Yes. And this is, I'll do a double check. This is of everything the highest priority and exactly what we're to do. Yes. And are we done with that part? So we now know what you're working on. It's whatever's keeping you from this, because it says it's a trauma structure. So something's keeping you from having clarity and decisions about who you are. Something is keeping you from having what you desire, which is to be still when you're feeling indecisive. That's what we know so far. Okay. So we're going to work on this directly. It said no. So we need a clue. What that says is that that's not enough. We need to know something else, which is either going to give you a clue about what's going on, or to listen for a theme, or it's going to tell me that there's a particular practice you need. So what you've told me is exactly right, but we need to add something, okay? So the clue typically is to find out about a pattern. So we're going to find out. So we're going to say, does it have the structure? Does your intention have the structure of a pattern, which is some kind of universal theme, like betrayal or neglect or something? So it's an exact equivalent. And it says yes. Are there any patterns on it? And it says no. A pattern on it is something foundational. You'd have to do it first in order to work on this thing. So it says whatever keeping you from clarity and decisions and who you are, and whatever is keeping you from being able to be still, is equal to some kind of universal theme. And I have to find out what that is. Okay? So is it one pattern, one universal theme, or one pattern made up of one? Is it a standard theme in life-centered therapy? Is it in any other framework better, like Jungian patterns? I mean, there are a lot of other people who have patterns, like, you know, Jungian archetypes. No. So it means that it's more a relational pattern than you have. Your problem is that you have a trauma around being a leader. Just a leader. Then we'd have to work on trauma about leader, for example, because it's an identity. This is more of a relational thing, like neglect takes two, right? Or something takes you over, it's you and something that took you over. The life-centered therapy patterns tend to be more relationally, as opposed to other patterns that tend to be more identities. All right. So you're stuck in one of them. So let's find out which one. Is it a single center pattern? No. Is it a major energetic pattern? No. Is it an identity pattern? Yes. Is it a blocked identity? Yes. Oh, well, that answers. Is it archetypal or embodiment? So I now know something else, which is your problem isn't the problem, it's a solution to a worse problem. So I'll tell you what I mean. Let's suppose let's suppose you had clarity about your decision one day when you're a little girl or something. And you were saying, I can sit with all this. And then someone screamed at you and you said, this is a bad plan. So you say, how am I going to protect myself because I can't stand being screamed at? So what I'll do is I'll become indecisive because that's the best choice I can make right now. And then what happened is you forgot you made the choice. So anything that looks like the original situation, you'll protect yourself. It says the thing you think is a problem is really a protection from a worse problem, like being hit or being screamed at or something. And this is your way not to have something worse happen. And so it's the best choice you could make, but it obviously limits you. And the real problem is you forgot you made a choice. So what that says is the thing you think is a problem was really a choice you made at some point as the best way you could have protected yourself. But because you made that choice when you were in trauma, it's like the one who made the choice was sort of dissociated. So it's like you forgot you made a choice. So, you make the choice when you're age 3, something comes up around the same situation, you automatically make the same choice. And if it's even remotely like the original situation, you'll call them that protector, and they'll protect you by saying, we're going to not have clarity and we're going to be agitated all over the place and whatever. So it's saying your problem here is really a solution to a worse problem. And we have to find out when you made the choice. But the problem is that we're not looking for what they did to you. You may have taken care of what they did to you, but you never told them to stop making the choice. Are you understanding what I'm saying?
Totally, 100%.
Good. So, and it's this whole thing is the protector. It's what I'd call an obscuring identity. So this thing that you have right now, it's protecting you, and it protected you, was probably the best choice, but it also obscured something. You had to cover over, and it limited you. So let's say you said, oh my God, I'm a person who knows clarity. I'm the person who knows stillness. I can sit with my heart's desire. And something happened, you said, that one needs to be covered over. It needs to go into hiding, right? So I'm going to hide it. It's going to be hidden underneath this lack of clarity, right? Like that protected you. So really what we're going to do, when they say be grateful for your problems, in this case, you really ought to be grateful because it probably saved you from, some sense of annihilation, as opposed to, well, you can be grateful for everything because you learned something. But in this case, you really asked this to be here, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if it's all right, so shall I find out what the form is? So I'm to do that. Is that the next thing? Because we have the obscuring protecting identity. It is this charge around clarity about decisions about who I am, and this lack of stillness is the protection. All right. Do I find the structure? All right. Is it standard? Is it something else? So what that says is it's dyadic. This happened with one other person. That's what I know now. It's not like it was your role in the family, and it's not like you're even watching your parents. Somebody did something to you. All right. Someone did something. And you're acting the same way you did then. So it'd be like you were at some point saying, I'm clear about my decisions about who I am, and I can hold this indecisiveness, and I can really know what's true for me. And somebody did something to you and you said, forget that. I'm going to that's dangerous. And now you're acting the same way you did before. So someone will look at you funny and suddenly you'll have this lack of clarity. You with me?
Sure. Yeah.
So you're reenacting it exactly the same way. It's not like, it's not like you watched this happen between your parents. It wasn't your role in the larger system. It's you and one other person, and you're acting out the exact same way. That's what I just found out for you, okay?
Okay.
All right, so we have to dialogue. We don't have to dialogue with this, whoever this is, about how this protector. We don't have to ask it. It'll become clear then. All right, so is the next thing to do to find out where this originates? Okay, so are we looking for one narrative and one point of origin? So this happened in one moment. Even if it was like a lot of moments, it said there was a crystallizing moment. Either it was horrendous or it was like something that tipped you over an edge or something, but we're looking for one moment. So we're to find out more, one narrative, one point of origin. So it doesn't originate in your lifetime. So you came in predisposed to this. So if I say other lifetimes to you, is that okay?
Yeah, totally.
All right. So anything that you would think is in this lifetime that would be like this, it's going to be like it'll be like on the line. It's on the stem, but it won't be where it originated. So it originated what we call a past life. Now there are two kinds of past lives, because soul can come through blood and soul can come through energy. If it's blood, it's called genealogical. And if it's energetic, it's called karmic, and you could be both. So let's find out. Is it It's not genealogical. Is it karmic? It's karmic. So we now know that if you tell me a story about you, it's not it. If you tell me a story about your great-grandmother or your ancestors, that won't be it either. But if you tell me a story about a little green man who's saying, boy, did I make a bad choice by coming to this planet, that could be it. All right? Or you could be anything except for you and your blood relatives, so forth. Fine. I'm going to see if you need any more clues. So do you need to know anything more through the muscle testing about when it took place or where it took place or who was involved or what happened or why it happened or how it happened, or even if it's a story you know? Do you need any more clues to the muscle testing? And it said no. So all we know is you're looking for a story from some other lifetime, and we'll just know it's that if you tell me a story and you're not the main character. That's all we're looking for. And we know theoretically it takes place in what we call the past and not the future. But don't worry about it. Whatever comes is going to be right. All right? So let's find out how we get there. There are only two ways people get there. I think the most elegant is through a body sensation. The other way people do it is through some kind of hypnotic work or trance work. But usually a body sensation is more elegant. So should we do it through a body sensation? Yes. Is there a better way like trance or hypnosis or walking a timeline or anything? No. So we're going to get there through a body sensation. Do we do anything to deepen it or amplify it? Any of the setup questions? Setup questions are like it matters if your eyes are open or closed. All right. Any practices other than standard? Should we do the standard practice? So there's a standard practice that we're going to have to do when you make a choice about making a different choice. So really the problem here is you made a choice and you forget you made a choice. So we're going to go back to when you made the choice and then you're going to do something different, okay? And that's the standard practice when you forgot you made a choice, is you realize you made a choice and then you decide, you know what, I don't have to keep making that choice anymore because, that happened in, God knows what century, and I've been working this through for lifetimes or something, right? So let's find out, are you fully in state, which means it's fully available to you? And it said yes. So most people like doing this with their eyes closed, Gabby. But here's what I want you to do. Someone else is here in a moment, and something's happening to them, and they're fully here right now. And something's happening, so they're going to not be able to have clarity about decisions about who they are. They won't be able to be still because they're in some indecisive situation and they can't just sit with sort of all sides or both sides of it and just be in their stillness. Something's happening to them. So what you want to do is you want to allow them, because it says they're fully available to you. Like I said, if it helps close your eyes, you're going to turn your attention in. And what you want to focus on is the part of you that says, I don't have clarity. Something's keeping me from having clarity about decisions about who I am. Something is keeping me from being still in my indecisiveness. Now, as you're allowing that, which you are right now, if you scan your body, you ought to be able to notice some kind of sensation when you focus on whatever's keeping you from clarity and stillness. It may be a pain, it may be a queasiness, it may be a numb feeling, it may be heavy, it may be sick, it may be tight, it may be empty. So you just want to scan your body as you're fully allowing whatever's the anxiety around clarity, the anxiety around stillness, and just tell me what you notice. And if it helps, really focus in. So you want to turn your attention fully inside and tell me what you're noticing in the body right now.
Well, I'm feeling a constricting in my throat and in my chest. There's like a back and forth kind of heavy weight.
Yeah. Now, here's what I want you to do. I want you to bring all your attention to constriction and throat, and all your attention to back and forth heavy weight in chest. If it helps, close your eyes or turn your attention in. And it's like you want to focus all your attention. So your new name is constriction and throat, and heavy weight in chest that's going back and forth. So focus there like you are that energy. Someone else is here and something's happening. So we're going to say, whoever you are, who's constriction in throat and heavy weight in chest that's going back and forth, you teach us. What have you come to share about this anxiety about clarity and decisions, or this anxiety about stillness and being indecisive? Now you just be constriction and heaviness, and you might become this other being, or images might come to you, or just feelings and knowings, and you just report constriction and heaviness. What have you come to share with us? Where is this beginning? What's happening? Just talk with us.
I'm sort of feeling like the need to just want to like throw it out, throw it up, throw it out. It's a knot, it's blocked and it wants to come out, but it can't.
Yes, now that's literal. Something's happening and you want to throw something out, but you can't. Now think of it like literally like a narrative, not metaphoric. So keep your eyes focused in, close them or keep them focused in, because you're in the right place. It's really strong. So something's happening and you want to throw something literally up, but you can't. And just keep being this person just like you are.
I'm mad about something and I feel like I'm not being allowed to say what it is. It's like wanting to voice like indignation about something, and they're not allowing me that.
That's right. It's really strong.
I just feel like it's like my fault. They're telling me that it's my fault, but I guess I feel like justified that I have something to say about it, but they're like, but I can't, and they're just blaming everything on me.
That's right.
And I feel bad. Like I don't feel like I don't feel like it's fully my fault, but that they're blaming me, and so I'm feeling really awful about it because it wouldn't be something that I would ever choose to do or have have happen, and yet it's everyone's looking at me like, oh, how could you monster, and I'm just like, wait, no.
That's right. That's right. Stay with it. There's more. You're exactly in the right place.
Okay. I should be getting more detailed, or
There's more. Just keep focused there.
okay.
That's not part of it. Just keep focused and just keep reporting, because you're exactly in the right place. It's not I should be getting more details. So just there's something more this person has to share. It might be about more details, or it might be more about what they're experiencing. I don't know. Just
Yeah, I
trust.
feel like it's like there's like that little kids, the death of little kids, and it's so horrible.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly right.
They think that I did it, and I was just there in the middle, and I was easy for them to blame me.
That's right.
But I was just caught in the middle of, but nobody cared what I had to say about it. They just needed someone to blame.
That's right.
And I guess I was getting defensive, and it just made me look more suspicious to them, and and that was it. Game over.
Yeah.
And I just, it was like the truth didn't matter.
That's
What I
right.
had to say didn't matter. It was just they made up their minds.
Yeah.
I feel like I was like killed over it. Like,
Yeah.
maybe it was like at a trial or something. I don't know, but I don't feel like I was very old, like a younger person, and this was like ended everything just all of a sudden.
Yeah.
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 I'm also sensing I was like a young man.
Yep. You're a young man. That's right.
That kind of feels like it.
Yep. That was like it. Now, you got the whole thing. But he still needs something. All right. That means there still may be a little bit of constriction in throat or heavy weight in chest. Just check and see if there is.
Yeah, I still feel it right up my throat.
All right. Now, here's what happened. Okay. We now know he made a choice and said, I'm never going to put myself in this position again, so I'm going to myself. That was a choice he made, apparently. And the key was what happened. It wasn't the death. Because he was like saying, I better never put myself in a place where no one's going to listen to me again or something. I'll be indecisive. I won't have any clarity. I won't have anything. Because like it'd be worse if I have clarity and I know what's going on and people aren't going to listen to me. So forget it. I'm going to like stop myself. You understand?
Yeah.
Okay. Now here's what you're going to do.
Yeah.
So this is a choice you could say he made, and you're still, whenever something comes up that remotely resembles this, you automatically make the same choice. And I can just tell you that that seems very true. If you could be with yourself about it and you'd find out, I think. But we can talk about that later. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to help him out, and that's going to help you out. I want you to put him across the room like he's in the past someplace, like a vivid picture of him, okay? So he's like in the past over there across the room. So you can see this moment that he's like there and no one's listening to him. And he knows what the heck is going on. But he's going to say, from now on, I'm going to like not have a clue because it's a nightmare to know what's going on and to know what I need to do and to like be in my truth and to be like, have this happen to me. So I'm going to stop it. And the way I'm going to stop it is this. Okay. Now, since that was a choice, here's what you're going to do. Since you chose, you could say, your soul at that moment, you could say, chose to bring this in. It was a choice. You can choose to bring it out. It's like it was a protector, but it's not serving you much at all anymore. So what I want you to do is choose to bring your attention there and then choose to bring it outside you because you asked it to come in. It doesn't like being a dense energy either, stopping you from speaking, but what the heck? It says, if you need me, I'll do it. But it's not very happy being a dense energy and it's not serving you at all. So you want to just use your consciousness, or you can use your hands if you're kinesthetic, and just type constriction in throat or any heavy weight and just choose to bring it outside you so it's outside you. And just tell me when that feels complete. Just bring it out. It's just a choice to protect you. You don't need it anymore. It's like you can say, thank you very much because you probably, have kept me alive lifetime after lifetime by shutting me up. But I don't need you anymore. So thank you. This is truly a place to be grateful and to say, it's time I can let you go. And this is called a win-win proposition because everybody's going to be happy. So just bring it outside. Tell me when it's outside you.
It's already feeling a lot lighter.
Great. Now, I want you to notice it's feeling a lot lighter because you actually chose to bring it out. So it could be in front of you. Whatever was left of that constriction like you went like this, so it should be in front of you, like some kind of whatever's remaining of the constriction and the heaviness, okay? Now, you're a pure channel of source energy, and that young man needs protection. So here's what you're going to do. This is the best way. We have to add anything. You're going to channel, you're a pure channel of source energy. You're going to channel source energy into the dense energy that's in front of you, that was that constriction or that heaviness, until it's totally infused with like divine love. And then you're going to send back loving protection to that young man who, goodness knows, can use it. Because his protection was fear-based. It wasn't like, okay? So just totally channel loving energy into that energy until it's totally infused with it, and then send it back to that young man like a gift from the future. So he gets the loving protection. Tell me when
Sort of
that.
picturing it was like a green yucky mass, and
Right, and you're going to
golden
like
light
channel.
just comes over it and sort of dissolves it, and now it's like just like a golden orb.
Now send the golden orb back to him. He needs the golden orb. So just see him receiving that gift from you. It's like an earlier column in a temple or something, and he's going to receive the golden orb. Tell me when that feels complete.
It's like he took it into himself and accepted it.
Oh, that's really good. That says yes. All right, now just notice how things change back there now that instead of having green slime, he has the golden orb. See how it changes back there, because it says he wants you to know what the consequences were for you doing this for him. So just check and see how see if the scene changes at all.
I just see him, and he's just, his whole body is glowing in this golden light.
That is called wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
That's enough. Now, you ought to be feeling more spacious inside, because you just took out a lot of heavy, dense energy and constriction. Okay? Now, you could say the truer you has been hiding or was hidden behind all that stuff. So what I want to invite you to do is just go into the spaciousness and find the truer you that you had to cover over as a way of protecting it. So just go into the spaciousness and find that one who's been waiting for you to find that one, and tell me what you find. The truer one who's been hiding all these lifetimes, so to speak.
I'm feeling like a white mist almost, sort of coming into the vacant space and just filling me up, and sort of like it just feels really cleansing and really fresh, and the relief.
Oh God, that was it. Oh, it hasn't totally filled you up. So here's what you want to do. We're going to get it to totally fill you up. Put your hand lovingly on your body where you feel the mist was. All right. Now, it's filling you up, but we're going to help it by just giving it an invitation. Invite that mist to come out and touch your hand and to expand in all directions if it helps, because it's filling you up, but you want it to fully fill you up because it's who you are. It's your birthright. So like you want to invite it to come out and touch your hand and to expand forward and back and left and right and up and down until it's so filled you up that you're filled full with it, almost to overflowing, that this is really who you are.
Yeah.
That was good.
I'm feeling like, whoo.
Yeah. All right, let's see if that's complete. So we've completed the whole. So we got the whole story done. Yep, and you completed the practice. Yep, that was really good. All right, let's see if we have to make any connections between that and your life, or your lack. Do we have to make any connections between this story and that? No. So there, you can make them all, and we don't need to make them explicit. Yeah, let's find out if you're balanced. Okay, if you balance the original intention 100% on all levels, that's strong. Shall we check the levels separately? No. Shall we check the intention? No. Shall we check your field? All right, so here's what I want to know. All I want to know is, I want to know if that constriction in throat and the heavy weight in chest, if it feels like it's different and it's gone. Just check and see.
It's weird because I've been sick the last couple weeks with some mucus and coughing and everything, but it's feeling really like open. It's almost like that exhaustion after you've just run a marathon and like, and it's done, and you're sort of like, oh, I can't. But it's like everything's open. It feels really. I don't feel the constriction anymore.
Wonderful. All right, let's find out. Are there any lessons for you to learn? There are. There's some kind of lesson for you to learn.
Okay.
One made up of one. It comes through you. You need any help? Apparently, I don't know what this means, but just tune into the body. It's like your deepest wisdom said you've learned some lesson today that's important to articulate. So just tune in and see what comes to you.
I think I have a lot of fears about the judgment that I'll get if I vocalize what my truths are. But that even though that fear might arise, it's really important to bypass that, or to say that, no, don't let it stop you, and that the world will validate what I have to say, and then I should stop being so fearful about saying what I need to say.
Yeah. Well, I think that sounds right. Well, what I'd say to you is, even if the world doesn't validate it, you still might want to trust it, because sometimes they won't. And you might be in fear, but I have a feeling you'll be in fear and you'll do it anyway. And I don't think this time you're going to end up dead.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah, amen. All right, I ask a whole series of questions at the end to make sure that you've really got it and you can live differently. I ask about 12 of them, like if you have to do any ongoing practices, or you have to see how your life will be different, or you have to give you a way to memorize this or anything. So there's like 12 of them. Any of those? Nope. Is it fully affirmed? Oh, it's not. You have to affirm it. In your words, yes. In our words, no. So here's the thing. You're more choice right now. So if you want this to be different, it says you can choose. Or you can just say, I don't want it to be different and I'd rather just stay in the place that I was. Because it's like you have to it's like making an agreement with yourself about whatever you're willing to accept, the consequence, because there'll be consequences and there'll be responsibility, and you'll be living a somewhat different life. So if you want it to be different, you have to just go to your heart and just say what you're willing to affirm and agree to, having done this work, if you wish, out loud, like you're making an agreement with yourself or a covenant with yourself.
So let me ask you, does it have to be, do I have to understand what that difference is, or like how it's supposed to come to be? I don't feel like I feel like I do want to change, and I do want to grow, and I don't want to be limiting myself anymore. I don't necessarily know what that looks like though, but I want to open myself up to that.
I think you just did it.
Okay.
That was it. It says it's now fully affirmed. You can't know what it's going to look like. All you have to do is say, I desire it, I want it.
I do. I desire the change and the growth and the evolution.
Yeah. Okay, so that's fully affirmed. Deepest wisdom, highest guidance, source guides, anything more for your healing transformation, highest good, for that young man's, for everyone who's witnessing this, and for all life before we leave this work. No. So is the work on this complete? Yes. Is it done? Is there anything else? No. So is our work complete for now? And we're done for now. That was beautiful. Thank you so much.
That was beautiful. Thank you. Take the words out of my mouth.
Well, you take a moment. You can be quiet and we can just end. But if there's anything more you want to say as a way of completion about how you are, or how you're feeling, or what that was like, or the process itself, or doing it with me, or your life, or anything, if there's anything more you want to say or share or ask, the floor is yours. If you want to just sit, that's fine too. Whatever you like.
I guess the biggest thing I'd want to share with everybody is on this journey, there can be a lot of room for self-doubt and for getting into the head about, is what I'm thinking or feeling true, right? Does it make sense? But the most validating thing for me was letting all of that go and not having any questions about it, and just accepting, again, as it arises, however it arises, whatever I see, I'm feeling, I'm thinking, not to call myself crazy and to just allow it. And that has left me into a whole different arena than I would have imagined. And it's so freeing, and just, it's yeah. So that would be what I'd want to share, just to keep questioning, but don't question the answers and the intuitions that come when you for that answer that once you question. That makes sense.
Made sense to me. I think faith and doubt always should be married.
Yes, exactly. It's a
They,
fine balance.
yeah, they need each other.
Yeah, yeah.
So take a moment. If there's anything else, that's fine. If not, then we'll just be grateful. So you tell us if there's anything else.
No, I'm just in a lot of gratitude and appreciation. Thank you.
Well, the only thing I'd suggest then, if you really want to know if this worked, is just spend 10 or 15 seconds at the end of every day and see if you have less feeling blocked about clarity or stillness, even when things seem like there's a lot of charge no matter what you do, and just see if you feel differently. And as for the rest, I just think all we have to do is thank the energies that were here for help and help. And it's sort of like we called them in and they've been holding us, and even when we let them go, we just know they're still here, and we're open with gratitude for that. And you've given us all a gift, so thank you so much. And I'm sure a lot of
Thank
people
you.
have witnessed this and want to thank you too. So,
Thank you. Thank you.
because you gave us a gift.